All right, what is up, guys? This is Jake. Welcome to episode number 9 of Warcry Games podcast. Joining me today, we got Brandon. What's going on, man?
Yo, what up?
And Darren, how you doing?
Doing great.
Yeah, just waking up.
Oh yeah. My bed hair and everything. Yep.
And a new member coming in today is Josh from Denver.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Thanks for letting me join.
Yeah.
Honored guest.
We just finished a draft for Fantasy Critic. At least a couple of us did, 3 of us, and then John joined earlier. This shit was pretty fun. That's pretty good. I'm pretty curious where this is going to go, but I think I'll link or maybe just do something in post where it's going to show all of our picks and then our counter picks, and I'll just kind of like scroll through it. And
people can follow our league if they join fantasycritic.games. You can watch as throughout the year as we get points and lose points.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool.
But starting things off, we're going to talk about what games we've been playing this week and then move on to the best bit. We're going to go over the best of actually, we're going to do the best QuickTime event in a game. Then we're going to talk about the gaming news this past week with all the recent game delays and Smash DLC. Then move on to the Warcry, where we introduce a topic that's designed to spark debate between us. And all the talking points are going to be linked in the description and comments below. Let's start off with games that we've been playing. I know we already hit on a couple, but what up with you, Brandon? What do you got? What are you bringing to the table this week?
All right. So for once in the history of this podcast, I'm only bringing one game because it's a massive game that I've just been sinking hours, and that is Red Dead Redemption 2. And as I know, we've said before, if we're bringing back a repeat game, want to try to bring something new to the table in terms of what we've actually been doing in the game. And so I know I covered this game at a surface level last week, but some of the things I did this week, I robbed a bank, which is pretty typical for a cowboy game, but I was just blown away at the way that you can actually rob this bank and the choices you get. So simple things like you're going to use a woman to distract the people. So do you want her to appear like she's drunk or appear like she's lost? And then you get inside the bank. Do you want to blow open the doors, or do you want to use a little mini game to actually just crack open the safe? Just extremely, extremely well-made game. Really great attention to detail. And it's, like I said last time, it's the ultimate cowboy simulator. You really feel like a badass. You know, the other thing, and I don't usually do this at games, but I love customizing my outfit, which is such a funny thing for me to say, but there are so many different things that you can buy and craft. And so I actually, speaking of the new thing this week, I crafted a legendary bear coat, because I've just been loving going and hunting different animals. And so I hunted the legendary bear, which is this like, really fearsome creature, obviously. And you got to go out and track it, look for, its poop in the wild and and be like, oh, it was here. Or, it scratched something on the, on a tree. It was here. And then you slowly go through the environment and find it.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know it was that in depth.
Oh my God, dude. It's crazy. The one thing I'll say is every minigame is extremely well done. I spent hours, another thing, and I might have mentioned this last time, I literally spent hours going to one of these sleepy farming towns playing poker at the saloon for 2 hours. Because the way that they build the environment, you're sitting at the table, you get your hand, and all the animation is extremely well done. And then your character and every other random NPC has unique dialogue. So they're how's your day going? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, did you see that thing that happened the other day? And they're talking about current events, the guy that robbed the bank. That's crazy, right? And I'm just blown away by how much dialogue they recorded for this game and how much you feel like you're in the world. I love poker, but I love poker in the Wild West way more than just playing poker, right? I actually feel like I'm a dude.
Can you shoot a guy across the table?
Easily, yeah.
Oh, so if he beats you,
crazy.
But then everybody beats you up, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Police come, dude. It's just how far this game goes in terms of the immersion factor is insane. Cool. A couple random other things I'll throw out without spoiling stuff. I went to a vaudeville show, so you go and watch. They literally animated an entire basically 30-minute performance of singers and dancers and all this stuff, and you can go on a date to the show. It's crazy. You go through the cities.
That's really cool.
The other thing that I really have to commend this game for is the environmental diversity. So the reason I first love this game was it starts you off in an area that very, very much reminds me of the Rocky Mountains, right? So me being in Denver, it's just like really fun, like exploring that environment. And then you can quickly go to so many other environments. Like, I'm not going to spoil too much, but there's an area you can go that feels like you're in Louisiana, right? And so it's like crazy to the diversity in terms of the towns and the settings that you go to. Or one place kind of feels like the South, or like South Carolina, North Carolina, kind of around this, like after the Civil War era. Just again, this game has like $500 million worth of budget. Like, it's so clear how much money they put into it, and you can tell like every cutscene, every quest. But I am absolutely loving it. I think I'm like 40 hours in.
Holy cow!
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm plowing through this game. Like I said, I usually bring more than one game, but it's just like I'm so lost in this brand new PC, loving every second of it. So that's my game.
I saw one person was I didn't know it was like this. I don't know how to put this, but like somebody shot somebody in, say, the stomach, and they will slowly bleed out of the stomach. They'll be wounded like you would normally get wounded in the stomach, and you're like running away from the person, and then you fall down, and it pulls out. I'm like, wow, that's like
you can
super,
shoot
super
guns
realistic.
out of people's hands. You can cripple people. You shoot them in the foot. Like
you can do all that, and you went to a carnival for a half hour.
Dude, I love that. That vaudeville show was extremely entertaining. Okay, they sang "Hello, My Baby," and I loved it. Every second of it.
All right, man. What about you, Darren? What are you bringing? Anything new? Or,
So I've been playing Hotline Miami, which is an older game. It came out, I think, in like 2012, 2013.
I think I saw you playing on the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard so many people talk about the game, and I've been on this kind of indie craze recently. So, I decided it was on sale on the eShop. I think the sale ended, the New Year's sale ended like a couple days ago, but I got it for $12. It came with both games, and the best way I could describe the game, like what it kind of reminds me of, is Smash TV. Like, at least the orientation. It's a top-down view, or you can even say the original Grand Theft Auto games, like the first and second one. And it's addicting. Like, you go through it, it's kind of like Celeste in the fact that like you're gonna die a lot, like 50, 60 times before you can get through a level. But it's just muscle memory, and then like learning, tricks of the level and ways to get through certain rooms and doors, and like it's really, really cool. Like, I'm not as good as Brandon at like explaining like the premise of the game. It's a pretty confusing story. Like, you're basically like you're in a it's like a psychopath killer. You play as a psychopath killer, and like the story was really confusing to me. I don't. Brandon, did you play it?
Yeah, I love Hotline Miami.
So
yeah. What do you think of the soundtrack? That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's another reason why I got it, because I like Fury, as you guys know. And a lot of other people were like, yeah, if you kind of like that whole like retro wave kind of music, you need to play Hotline Miami.
Yeah.
And so I ended up buying it, and yeah, the soundtrack's freaking awesome. If you like the 80s synthwave type music, like that alone will make you want to buy the game.
I would say it's an ultra-violent action game,
Yeah,
and in some ways it kind of has puzzle elements, because you go through these overhead environments and you have to figure out the most efficient way to kill everyone before they kill you, because it's like a one-hit kill to you and a one-hit kill to them.
Yeah.
So like, how do you kill 30 people before they kill you? Okay, we're gonna throw a gun at one, throw a baseball bat at one, punch one, open the door and slam like
one
down,
kind of like Super Hot.
Yes,
but a lot more
without
enemies?
without the slowdown mechanic of Super Hot. It's very fast, extremely fast paced. Like, everything just happens. Your reflexes are like constantly firing.
Yeah. And then the other thing about the game was the like, I don't know if it's just the Switch playing it, but it's super like high definition. Like, the graphics on it look really nice. Like, it's the pixels and everything. It's super sharp looking. But yeah, I think beating both games, it took me about 14 or 15 hours. Like, I just plowed through it between yesterday and the day before. I went through the entire game. It's a really awesome game though.
In 2 days?
Pick it up, Jake. Yeah.
Holy crap, man. Said those hours, and then you said the days, and then it clicked.
I'm on leave though, so.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yes,
man. Yeah, that's plenty of time. Yeah.
Vacation time off.
Yep. But other than that, I think that's pretty much all I've been playing. I started playing New Super Mario Brothers, like the one that was on the Wii U that's on the Switch. Just playing through that. Not much to say. I mean, I haven't messed with any of the new abilities or anything like that. Like the.
Did you play on the Wii U? Like, I'm assuming you did. Yeah. So this is just a good pickup for you, plus the DLC, I guess.
Yep.
Super Luigi, you.
Yeah, I did. I played that too. I never beat it. That was really hard because you only
Yeah,
have
the Luigi
like
levels are
99
tricky.
seconds. You have to do it quick, and if you want to
Yeah.
get all the stars, and some of those levels are actually pretty challenging. So
Yeah, man.
yeah, that's
Fun game.
what I've been playing.
And Josh, I'm assuming you've been playing Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit. Jedi Fallen Order. Oh my god, that game. Sorry, I gotta close my dog. Close my door. Close my dog.
Close that dog, man.
Close the dog down.
Closing the dog down.
Yeah.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That is, I think, my favorite game of the decade, like by far. I think you guys said that John talked about this a little bit, but like, I think it warrants a second discussion about that.
Yeah,
one.
man.
It's like,
Bring your own
Yeah.
spin.
oh God. So like, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, despite the fact that I haven't seen the latest.
Yeah, I was about to say that, dude.
Don't
Not
judge
big
me.
enough.
Don't judge me. I'm balancing being a good boyfriend and being a Star Wars fan. I think the fact that they brought in a bunch of new content that we haven't really seen before, like a bunch of new planets and a bunch of new there's new force powers, new perspective, I suppose, to the time, like to the place in the story. So like this takes place like 5 years after the fall of the Jedi Order, which just like I think other than Star Wars Rebels, like really hasn't been explored too terribly much, aside from maybe a little bit with the Star Wars Force Unleashed. But even that took place even later than Jedi Fallen Order, and with the mechanic. So like the main character, Cal, he has this force power that allows him to see echoes of the past through the Force, and because you are exploring, like as you're going, like the story is like uncovering some secrets of a long forgotten race called the Zepho. No spoilers. That's pretty. You find that out like within the first half hour of the game.
Cool.
It really adds just a depth of lore that I think is pretty unprecedented with a lot of the Star Wars games. A lot of the Star Wars it's like the games, the lore. There are games like Star Wars: Knights of the Republic that have a lot of lore, but it's just to the timeline. Like this is new lore, because you get to like I said, you're like, this is 5 years after the fall of the after the fall of the Jedi, after the Clone Wars. So you have new content there, plus you get a bunch of new content from thousands of years before the Jedi even existed. Like this is so just on lore content alone, it was so satisfying
Because
to
of those
explore.
echoes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty cool.
So just like new content alone was like it's already an amazing game. Plus
Yeah.
the combat is, I think, the most fluid combat I've ever played in a game.
Wow.
Super satisfying getting to reflect blaster bolts back at stormtroopers. Plus the like dodging and parrying really come into play, which takes some practice, especially if you're doing it on the hardest difficulty like myself.
Josh is a hardo on that stuff.
Dude. I loved it so much, and then like the storyline, like the character you get to explore a character who's really pretty cool, and they don't bring in a lot of different force powers or a lot of different mechanics to bring to combat and to interact with the environment, but they do those simple mechanics so well that it oh my god, I cannot rave about that game enough. I played it 50 hours, and as soon as I finished the game, I immediately started playing it again. Man, like it's
That's surprising. You told us
Yeah.
that like during the draft, and I was like, holy crap. Beat the game, immediately started it back over. Like no new game plus or nothing. It's just start back over from square one. That's a sign of like, yeah, you're addicted. You like that game.
Yeah, I did.
Lock them in.
Dude, you got to play Vader Immortal. If you ever get like a VR headset, I think you'd appreciate it.
I almost got a VR just for that game.
Yeah.
That's how much of a Star Wars fan he is.
I mean,
Yeah,
you can
I
watch
love
like
Star Wars, man.
it's like 30 to 45 minutes gameplay, something like that per episode, 3 episodes. You could watch on YouTube, save yourself a ton of money, but the immersion.
Nah, dude, that's
You gotta-
cheap.
you gotta
Yeah.
play it. You gotta-
Watch a VR game on YouTube.
Hey,
Get outta
I
here.
mean, if you want to save yourself like $1,000, or whatever for your headset. But
Josh, when I get the headset, you can come over and
You
play.
gotta
Vader
do it.
Deal,
Immortal.
man. Deal.
oh, I think it's Oculus exclusive, Brandon. You're going.
Yeah, but if I got Valve Index, you can do Oculus games on Valve Index.
Really? Oh, it's like a
Yeah, with Revive.
Revive. Okay. Yeah, interesting.
I'm already camping out in front of your.
Yeah.
In front of your house, right?
He's ready.
I also downloaded The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jay.
yeah.
I'm not done yet.
Yeah, no, do it.
No, keep
I
going.
want to hear some Witcher 3. This is.
I haven't. I've only been playing. I just got past the first little like part where you meet back up with Yennefer, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it other than Star Wars is better. Sorry.
Well, and the fact that you played 15 hours that you forgot of, and then you came back into it, and you're like, oh,
Yes,
I played this.
a little bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
what was this game?
Yeah.
Seems like you've unlocked all of
I'm
these
excited.
achievements.
I'm excited. I downloaded The Witcher 3 in a time in my life when I was not prepared to intake that much lore and that much new story, like world building, all that stuff. But now I'm ready. Now after getting my muscles worked out from Star Wars, I'm ready to get back into this and stuff like that. So
You said
okay,
that
Jake, I'm done. You can go now.
Well, you said that the Witcher series is what got you hooked back into the game. I've been hearing that a lot.
Yeah, Henry Cavill is a good-looking Geralt of Rivia. Let me tell you.
Yeah, man.
He is.
He's
Good job.
He sparked. Didn't you say like all-time highs on the game?
Yeah,
concurrent?
it's the highest number of concurrent players that have ever played Witcher 3 in the past month or so. Ever.
Yeah.
And the game's like 5 years old, right? It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
For me, I'm bringing 3 to the table. I got so the first one I didn't play much of, but Shadow of the Colossus, I downed another Colossi. So I'm down to 10, so I only have 6 left.
Getting close.
Now, the only reason I kind of went this slow, like I was actually booting it up 2 days ago to start playing it again, and it crashed on, you know, like how you can like, what's that called? Suspend the game and do something else and then go back to the game.
Oh,
Crashed
PlayStation
there.
4 messed it up.
Yeah, and then I tried it again, like I don't know, 30 minutes later. I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it another thing. Booted the game back up, went back in there, did it, paused for a second to go do something, came back, and it crashed. So it's the only game that I've had that experience with. It crashed twice on me within, I'd say, 35 minutes or so. So I was like, fuck it,
Annoying.
canceled out of it. I was like, I'll worry on this more. I did clear
Yeah.
one, the snake colossi.
Oh, yeah.
He's in the dunes, like going around, and you have to get on your horse and run away from him. And
Yes,
then aim
dude.
behind you with your bow, and so
And like grab on his wing when he's flying.
no, this one that's another one.
You already
That's
did that one?
Yeah, this one is like he's under the sand and he's like slithering in the sand and he pops his
Okay.
head up and then you have to like run away from him. You can't just be on foot. You have to be.
Oh,
on
right.
horseback.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yeah.
But yeah, so after I did that, I was just like, okay, hard. Transferred on to Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. That came out a couple days ago. I've been looking forward to this forever. Holy crap. So where to start with this?
Yeah, where to start?
I'm 6 hours in. I just started playing it like 2 days ago. I want to be playing that right now. Like it's that good.
Cancel the podcast. Yeah.
A big Dragon Ball fan, so anything that's bringing me back into that world's cool. The biggest thing, I think I was talking to Brandon about this last night. Coolest thing is in between main mission stuff. Like I know the Saiyans are about to come. I'm playing as Gohan right now, and I have to basically Piccolo's training is really, really difficult. You have that one moment in the anime where you go back to beat your mom, and right before you decide to go back in and quit Piccolo's training, you turn around and Piccolo's actually watching you the whole time. I'm supposed to go to that moment, like I'm going back home. But instead of doing that, you can just go free roam and explore the world, the environment that you're in, or multiple different environments, like Piccolo's training area, which is all those mountains and stuff that you were in, dinosaurs roaming and everything, kill them for meat, cook it, or
You can kill him for me and cook him?
yeah, dude, it's
that's
expanded. And then,
That's cool.
or you can go back over to say the right now I'm in Goku's home wooded country environment. I'm just exploring new areas. You see all of the old people from old school Dragon Ball. I've done some missions for Nam. I've done Android 8. I've seen Poir. I've seen Launch. So if you're not a big Dragon Ball fan, you're not going to get a lot of this stuff. But it's huge for if you are. This is the most complete, not fully open world, but open-esque world area that you can get in a Dragon Ball world. Fully modeled. You can go inside Roshi's Kami house, look around, it's a modeled home. Orange City, I was showing Brandon, took a picture of Orange City, the high school that Gohan's going to go to in the future. And if Gohan sees it as a kid, he's like, oh, I really hope I go to this school in the future. It's like, man, what a call.
And is that voice acted, or they're just all the remarks are just the actual voice actors saying stuff?
Yeah, 75%. If it's any cutscene or if it's any interaction between characters that's not cutscene, just in-game engine, or stuff like that, it's all voice acted. But some of it where you're just talking to like a random NPC, he'll just make a noise like, huh?
Oh, okay.
And then,
Yeah.
But most
I was going to say that's a lot of voice acting.
Yeah.
That's it. Another cool thing about it is the community support tab. Like every time you meet a new character, like I met Nam, Android 8, they all have a set of stats, and you get a little token that says like, hey, you've met them, you've completed the side quest thing with them, go put them on your community support tab, and it helps you, I don't know, helps with your cooking, helps with your exploration, helps with your fighting, you know, like depending on what that character's strong at. It's like a little, not a board game. I'd have to like show it some other time, but it's a cool little addition.
Show it in post.
Yeah, I'll show it in post. That's it for that game. Talk too much about that. Man, I've just been having a blast with it.
Loving it.
Yeah. Dragon Quest 11S. I'm probably, I don't know, 10 to 12 hours into that game now. I've got the full party of 4, so just avoid spoilers. I do have 4. I helped out this wayward prince that he's covering up a ton of his failures in a city. I'm about to bounce from there.
It's a fun area.
Yeah. I've done everything. Anything you can do in there, any side quest, any broken pot, like everything in that area is completely done. I did all the things with him. And then now I'm leaving from there to continue on the story. One cool thing I want to talk about, I think we might have done it in the past, but the 2D mode that's in that game.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, you guys have probably seen it, the one that's for the Switch. I didn't know that you actually go back to like previous installments in the series.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
I brought this up before, but you probably forgot about it.
Yeah, I did. Like, I knew that you go through the 2D mode, but like I didn't know like you go to there's these little creatures called tockles, and then once you go to their world, they have this issue that you have to do, a side quest, and they bring you to this area that has like 10 portals, and it's like, hey, anytime in the game, like it's just this big side mission where if you find one of us, come back here, we'll open up a portal. Well, these portals are essentially 2 previous installments in the game, Dragon Quest 4 or Dragon Quest 7 or whatever it is, and like you can go in and play like a piece of that story. That is super cool. That's like such a cool, I mean, I've never played any other Dragon Quest.
Huge nostalgia trip, man. Yeah
I can imagine like that's why this is probably like such a huge game in Japan, like since they love Dragon Quest so much.
My wife, she beat that game when it came out in Japan on the PlayStation 4, and then she recently, well, not recently, like when it came out in Japan on the Switch, she picked it up. And the one thing is she was not a big fan of, because I guess in the 3DS version you could, whenever you want, you could switch to 2D mode. Like it doesn't matter where you are. But in the Switch version,
you have to go back.
You have to go to the church.
Yeah.
So she's kind of like, I wonder why they changed that. I think that is kind of weird that they changed that, because I guess that makes one reason if you really like 2D mode, the 3DS version would be better. But at the same time, the 3DS version, when it's in 3D mode, it's like really limited. Like it's not high quality.
Yeah.
So
chugging.
It's kind of weird that they changed it. I don't know why they did that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cool. It's cool just to swap back and forth. Like I said in the last podcast, so I kind of got burned by it last time. So I'm always pretty careful about swapping back and forth to like 2D mode. But
the toggle area, you'll never have that issue because that's completely
you just
like
get
a side
transferred
thing.
into it.
Yeah.
It's when you decide to toggle it yourself at the church, and make sure you save in the right file at the right time and open it back up.
Yeah, right, dude.
But let's move on to the first bit of the podcast. Best bit with the following question. What is the best QuickTime event in a video game? And does anybody want to start? I've got like myself 3-ish honorable mentions in the finale. I'll do it.
Sure. Why don't you go ahead, Jake?
Doing it, man. Okay, number 1 honorable mention. So I don't think I've talked about this game with you guys at all, but I think the only other person that might have played it is Darren, possibly. Rise, Son of Rome.
I have not played it.
Oh, you have an Xbox. So when I got my first Xbox, OG Xbox, a VCR player looking thing, bundled with the Kinect, like whenever I got that first week after, long story short, mine was bricked dead on arrival. I had to wait and go get it again. But that was the first game I ended up playing. Almost the entire game's QuickTime events. Like everything about that game's like QuickTime events. Like the guy will glow, like you're going to battle somebody, you hit them with the sword and it'll glow blue. And it's like, okay, that means you have to hit the blue button on your controller, which is X, and then he'll start glowing yellow, and then you hit the Y button, which is yellow. And, that's how like a lot of the game is red, and it does a certain execution based on, I don't know if it's how quick you do it, but I do know it's based off like if you hit the right key, it will be like how you cut off his head, slice into his arm, like how you execute him and stuff. So a lot of that game is like that, but so it's kind of like you're playing the movie 300, like in video game format.
That's cool.
Nice.
The thing I liked about it, which is I guess kind of a QuickTime event, so aside from that part being QuickTime event, this is the only time I used the Kinect on the Xbox. You could talk to it and tell them to support you. Like, say I'm battling enemies on like a bridge or something like that, and I'm taking out these 3 guys, and I see a wave of like 10, 15 guys swarming me. You're like, fuck, I'm about to get killed. You can say, I think it's volley arrows or something like that.
No way.
And then arrows will start spawning in like that. I was like, that's cool.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
I don't, that's the only thing I remember like using Kinect for back then. It gave you a prompt like, hey, say it. And I was like, no fucking way. Like, volley arrows, and then you see these fiery arrows slam into the enemies. I'm like, oh, now I don't have to deal with those like 20 guys. So now like half the game I'm like, volley arrows.
That's pretty cool.
Another honorable mention, A Way Out. Just played this with Brandon.
This is on my list.
It's like, oh, good shit. It's like a masterpiece for local co-op. Basically 2 guys that got to escape from jail. They go on the run to like avoid capture and stuff, but it's loaded with QuickTime events. The one that stood out for me is when you're still in prison. There's 2 of you. He's in one jail cell. You're in the other. Like me and Brandon were doing this. One of you will distract the guard. Guard walks by, you gotta like just talk to him, distract him, keep him occupied. The other's like prying his toilet off the wall,
So cool,
chiseling to try to create like a hole and stuff. And then Brandon would be like, he's coming. Put that shit back. And you're like jamming the toilet back in the wall.
That's so funny.
Light shout outs to like Bayonetta 1 and 2. They have crazy over the top ones. Resident Evil 5 for the finale with I won't spoil it, but he's punching a boulder.
Yeah.
You just have to keep hitting that damn thing for like a solid minute.
Remember, we were like so stuck we could fucking beat it. We're like, what do we do, dude?
Yeah, so what are we supposed to do here? But that's just a long QuickTime event. Number 1, and I've talked about this game a lot on the podcast, but I got to do it. If you're talking QuickTime events, God of War 2018, there's a moment where, like, I won't give any story beat spoilers, but you're battling a boss on top of a freaking airborne dragon, similar to like Dragon's Dogma that Brandon brought to the table with dragons, and you're punching one of the bosses. Like the boss is not the dragon. So you're punching this other guy, you're just battling atop it. It's like a 10-minute QuickTime event, and you're like dodging, you're getting knocked around. Like there's a lot that are in this game, but that event, that whole situation, I don't even know if I'll even show that like in post, just because it is kind of like late game stuff. Yeah. But that was probably like my most memorable QuickTime event.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Nice.
What about you, Darren? What's a memorable one for you?
We're gonna go way back.
Yeah.
Well, first, I'll do my honorable mention, because the same way you said God of War is like, like you have to mention that. I would say the Shenmue series, because that game is full of QuickTime events.
I've never played it.
Have you seen any sailors?
Yeah, right. I know how many times they ask that question. It's Shenmue. It has a ton of really fun ones, and I think it's pretty cool. Like, he's like running and dodging and stuff, and I don't know. This is cool. But the game I'd say is like the QuickTime, like the game that just encompasses, like, it started. I feel like it started QuickTime. Well, I don't know. Actually, it didn't. I can think of a game that's older than it, but Sega CD.
Whoa.
Time Gal. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
Never.
Yeah, you have to look it up.
Enlighten
Time
us.
Gal. It's like a 90s, like it's an anime. Like the whole game, all it is QuickTime. You're watching basically an anime. It's about this girl who can go back in time, and she's trying to save the galaxy or whatever like that. Like, but if you look it up, it's actually a pretty fun game. It's really hard though. Like, it's a really hard QuickTime game, because you could know all the button combos, but there's like a tiny window that you have to like press the button in. So you'd be like, okay, I know like the next button combo is left right.
Yeah.
But you have to do it perfectly, which kind of as a kid drove me
Yeah.
insane.
They don't have
I'm
those
like,
reflexes.
I know I'm supposed to be hitting left and right. Like, why is it not like registering that I pressed that?
So frustrating.
Damn.
But yeah, it's a pretty fun game. I don't know. I don't know if the game is playable. I don't know anything about emulators, but if you could play that game, you should try it if you like QuickTime event games. It's anime though. It's cutscenes basically, and you're pressing the buttons with the cutscenes. So
Cool.
Interesting.
yeah.
About you, Brandon?
That's all I got.
All right, honorable mentions. Resident Evil 4 Krauser knife fight. One of the most epic scenes in video games. It's like, I love Krauser. He's just like badass, like, I guess Russian, I don't know like where he's technically from, but he's like giant, super muscly, and he just comes out of nowhere and you guys do this like crazy knife fight. And like every swing is just a different quick time event. Really, really cool part of that game. Another honorable mention, Heavy Rain. This whole game is basically quick time events, but the one that sticks out to me, there's one where you're in like this electricity, like an electric place, I don't know, but there's all these like different electric wires that you have to like crawl under and crawl over, and the way that you do it, your hands have to like form these like crazy shapes, because it's like I have to hit L1, L2, and square and triangle, and then release square and hit triangle. And so it always stuck out to me just because of like the crazy like gymnastics you have to do with your hands to like get under and over these wires.
Detroit Become
very
Human's the
memorable
same, which makes sense.
Yeah,
the moment you
it's
said
like-
that, I was like, Detroit Become, same developer.
Yeah, same developer, Quantic Dream. I also put A Way Out on my list. The one I was going to shout out, I loved when we did the wall climb, where you're back to back.
Yeah.
And like, it was crazy because Jake and I had to like time our movement. So it's like, there's a little spinning bar. It's like, all right, now you hit the button, now you hit the button, now you hit the button, now you hit the button. But like, I had to be on the same page as Jake. So I was like, Jake, you gotta hit the button faster. Like, come
Yeah.
on, dude. Like, yeah. And so we were just like going inch by inch by inch by inch, climbing up this shaft to get out of the prison, which is really, really cool. So my last honorable mention before my number one, these are actually both from the same game. It's funny, you picked God of War 2018, Jake, because God of War 3 has my number one and second, I guess, honorable mention QuickTime events. The honorable mention is the Hercules boss fight. And look this up if you guys haven't seen it. When you kill Hercules in this game, he has this like giant like fists, like weapon things that you take from him, and you just like hit the circle button 1,000 times, just break his face in. It's like one of the most brutal things, and you like crash
Spoilers,
through the
dude.
floor. It's just extremely violent. Like a lot of the kills in this game are very violent, but the way that you do it with Hercules is just like so brutal. And I was like, damn, dude, like this is like one of the most savage kills in this game. And again, like the quick time element where you're like hitting different buttons, dodging something, and then like hit. It's just like really satisfying. My number one, and I think I've put this out in terms of like one of my favorite boss fights ever, it's the Poseidon boss fight. The end of the Poseidon boss fight, if you guys haven't seen this, I'll spoil something about it. It's the first part of the game, but this is like, I honestly think everyone who loves action games needs to experience this fight. It's the beginning of God of War 3. And you fight him, but the quick time event really happens at the end of the fight. You've basically tackled Poseidon, and so that's you and Poseidon on Mount Olympus, kind of like on a flat surface, and you're just like punching him, hitting him. But what's really crazy is the game then changes the camera to be from his perspective, so you're Poseidon seeing Kratos hit you in the face, dude. And so it's just like square, punch yourself, square, punch yourself. And what's crazy, so this is a spoiler, but if you don't like God of War 3 spoilers, just skip like 10 seconds. The end of the sequence, you hit both the L3 and the R3 sticks, you click them in, and you poke out his eyes, dude. And so you're literally poking your own eyes in the camera.
Man.
I was like, dude, this
Dirty.
is fucking nuts, dude. But hands down is the most memorable, like most insane QuickTime event I've ever seen.
Man, right when you said God of War, like the only other one I played, which I wasn't a big fan of, but Chains of Olympia, PSP.
Yeah, dude, that's the worst game.
The only QuickTime event I remember from it is like sex. Like you have to sit there and like
that's in everyone.
I remember like triangle,
spin the circle,
this,
spin the
yeah.
circle, spin the circle. Yeah.
Girls are like moaning and stuff.
hell.
The camera pans to the side. You just see like something wobbling off a table trying to fall.
Yeah, every God of War game has like a sex minigame.
Man. What about you, Josh? Anything you can think of?
Yeah. I think go with that Star Wars theme. I think Star Wars Force Unleashed was probably some of the most memorable and favorite QuickTime events.
Yeah.
And because I don't think the Star Wars Force Unleashed game is aged too well, and I don't even want to pretend like the Star Wars Force Unleashed 2 game was even a real thing.
Yeah.
That was some college students like senior project. That's all that was. The main the first game though, it didn't age well, but at the time it was super fun, and getting to do some like absurd force feats and like lightsaber choreographed fights, facing off against like some of the lesser known but like still pretty cool Jedi Knights in the Star Wars universe is pretty fun.
That'd be cool. I really think, man, you really have to invite him over for Vader Immortal. He's gonna love it.
I gotta get VR headset first, and
yeah,
yeah, the next day.
Absolutely gonna love it because like Lewis, somebody I know here at work, he's a big Star Wars fan, and he got into that world. His reaction to that, priceless. You know, like he's like, "Oh my God, that's Vader!" Like Vader walks up in my right up to my face, and it's like, holy! Like he loved every like minute of that, like every second of that. So I think you're gonna go like ham for it, man.
All right, man. B-Rate's a date.
All right. It's happening.
And it's more Star Wars lore. This happens like right after episode 3. You're still on Mustafar, and that's it. So
Okay.
stuff happens. But let's move into the next segment. This one's gonna be gaming news. Not a whole lot, but 2 things I wanted to talk about, kind of relevant for the week. Start things off with major game delays that we've been having. This week we saw the delay of Cyberpunk 2077 from April 16th to September 17th. Earlier we saw Last of Us 2 got pushed back to May. Final Fantasy VII Remake delayed just a month into April. So my question to you guys, should developers wait to announce the game release dates until they have greater certainty? How long out before a game release should they be waiting, or is that even feasible because of like, leaks and trademarks and that? But
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
I think people drop release dates. I think it's different too. I think smaller studios, I feel like, are less likely to drop release dates until they're finished. Like we were talking about Hollow Knight earlier. Like Silksong is TBA. Like they're not going to release release date until they really know it's ready. I think the problem with some of these bigger publishers and bigger developers is they have to plan their fiscal calendars too. Like they're really trying to hit like a specific release window for their financial health of their company. Yeah, investors and stuff. And so I think release dates are good for 2 reasons, right? They're good for investor confidence in the company, but they're also good at like things like E3 and the Game Awards to generate hype, right? If you drop a release date for something, everyone freaks out because like they have this sense of tangibility in terms of when they're going to be able to play a game. And so I think that's why developers do it. And I mean, I don't think any of us have ever like developed a game, but Josh knows programming, but yeah, right.
Get off this podcast, man. This is only for game devs.
Yeah, right. Only for game devs. But I think, those who are familiar with, programming, I think it's clear to me that like when you're at the finishing stages of something, there's always bugs or issues or things that come up that are unplanned. Making a video game is like one of the most complicated things because it's this marriage of art and science and like trying to make a computer output all of these, complicated things. Is just something that I don't think you can always nail down a time frame for when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think for a company, release dates are good because like I guess I may have I don't know what you guys do for your daily jobs, but I actually am a software developer.
Yeah.
So like release dates for our company are a good thing because like our customers specifically, they like to know when they can expect things, and so like we as a software developer, I would love to release things when they're ready, but as a company, it's tough to tell your customers like you'll get this feature when it's ready.
Yeah, right.
Like we have no idea when it's going to be done. It's somewhere in the backlog or somewhere in our to-do list. So I think like it helps companies out, and I think that's really like all release dates are good for. Because as a consumer of video games and as a software developer, I hate release dates because all it means is either disappointment or I'm going to get a game too early that isn't well polished enough, right? At least in recent memory.
Just nailed it. Yeah.
But I think Barry brings up a really good point about like it helps companies project their financial security, and it also for the investors specifically, it helps helps determine how well a company's going to do for a given year.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because I think those are not the people that I would like to see rewarded, or I don't want to see the incentive to be to not the people who are really going to consume the game. As a lover of all games, not just Star Wars games, I like when games are well polished. Nothing disappoints me more than being hyped about a game and then having it just either unplayable or just not well produced.
Yeah.
I feel the same. I mean, same general sentiment, but I also am not a big fan of year plus out announcements, 2 years out. I'd rather know with less time, but I do know that's a little bit difficult, at least with I mean, the way the internet is now, most people find out about it anyways relatively quickly
leaks,
in advance. There's so many leaks. So I'd rather be the company that's in control of it to let people know it's in development. And then, like you said, Brandon, plan your hype cycle around it, plan that marketing, plan the whole strategy for getting everybody on board with this, under your terms versus somebody's leak or release. But man, I just hate hey, this game's coming out Bayonetta 3. I was so hyped for that. 2017 Game Awards.
A couple years ago, yeah.
That was going on 3 years, over 2 years ago now, and it's just hey, it's coming. Or they just do the Metroid Prime 4 logo, and then 2 years later, an update of we got to go back into development of it. It's I get that. I'd much rather Cyberpunk get pushed back. 6-7 months, let it cook, but. Don't announce that 7 years in advance. Don't say this game's coming out. I think they did. I forgot what year.
Yeah, Cyberpunk was 2012, dude.
Yeah, 8 years.
At that point, it's you're doing almost more damage to your brand than helping.
But really though, I almost think Cyberpunk is a weird, unique case.
That one,
Cyberpunk might be,
because they've been building that hype for 8 years.
So what about Citizen Kane?
Sure.
What's that movie?
Oh,
Star Citizen.
Star
Citizen. That's the opposite of.
Yeah. John's waiting on that, so I wish he was here. He was a Kickstarter backer of that, and he's been waiting on it. And he's just he's losing interest every day that passes. So it has a negative effect on it. I mean that's pretty much it for that. But I guess the other little bit of news that we have is a new Smash character was revealed just a couple days ago. So you guys want to play some Smash Fire Emblem Edition? More Fire Emblem characters coming to Smash. Thoughts, general thoughts, concerns. Are there too much, or is there too much Fire Emblem representation? Do you guys care? Does it bother you? Were you waiting for somebody else? I know Brandon was.
I mean, I guess the more characters, the better. They're not taking away from the game; they're adding more characters to the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would have preferred to have a more diverse roster. There's a lot of other characters that have not seen the spotlight that I think definitely deserve it, that are more iconic.
Yeah.
Especially globally, I don't think Fire Emblem is that it's now picking up steam. A lot of people are starting to really like the series, which is great. But there's so many other games that just deserve to be put. And I don't know. I know there's licensing issues, and companies have to be sure, yeah, you can use that character in your game. But I mean, I was disappointed, but at the same time, I'm well, I mean, Sakurai himself said he's going to keep adding more character packs. So, I mean, I'm disappointed, but I'm not angry. Some people are what the heck, Sakurai? It's whatever.
I think it's just funny more than anything. I mean, it is what it is. In Japan, Fire Emblem's huge. Dragon Quest is huge.
Right.
So their player base, I'm sure, is super thrilled to have, Byleth and okay. I mean, it is what it is, but it was so funny. I watched somebody do a montage of all the Smash DLC for this pack, and it was New York City, the Nintendo Direct, whichever one that has a ton of people at it, and it did everybody's facial.
Nintendo New York.
Yeah, Nintendo New York, and everybody's going hype for like Banjo, for Terry, for like everything, and then you get this one, and like people are just like turning around and walking out and just checking their watch or phones. Like, okay.
I didn't watch that. That's hilarious.
It was funny.
At what point is there too many characters in Smash? Like,
what do we have? Like 7?
I mean,
is that? Because I'm not an avid player of Super. Like, I like Super Smash Bros. I'm not an avid player, but I know, like, I downloaded it for the Switch, so like it's intimidating the amount of characters that are there. I picked 1 or 2 characters at most to play, and like I just feel, I don't know, like I feel kind of weird about not playing 99% of the characters, and they're still adding more. But they, like, I don't know, they have like Wii Fit Trainer, like
play who you want to play, dude.
Well,
dude,
I mean, no, sure, but like I don't know, like I don't like. At what point do you have too many characters?
Would you say the same thing though for like Star Wars, for example? Like if you could play as like, you know what I mean? It's
because you were talking about
Josh,
like
what if you got
the...
a Star Wars fighting game with 1,000 Star Wars people?
I mean, I don't. I guess I have to see the game to be, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay.
Like, because
yeah.
they've added a few Star Wars characters to some fighting games.
Yeah,
is like,
Soul Calibur with Yoda.
Yes, Soul Calibur. Yeah. I mean, I can definitely see why it'd be intimidating to come like into any big series like that with whether it be Star Wars, whether it be, I mean, even Fire Emblem has a ton of content over the decades, right? But like I mean, it's just the fighting game itself, though. Like I feel like trying to tackle like an entire franchise's worth of lore it to me is a little different than seeing like not like. I get like a pixel character. I feel like whenever I load up Smash, because there's so many, I can't even really see who's there.
All right, let me, as the resident Nintendo fan on this podcast,
please
speak some things.
Please enlighten us, Brandon.
So here's my thoughts. Like, let's start positive, because I think, to Darren's point, like, this game is a love letter to fans. But I used to say it's a love letter to Nintendo fans. It is a love letter to video gaming. There are so many iconic characters: Pac-Man, Sega, Mega Man,
Wii Fit Trainer.
Like, but that's what's beautiful. Like, I was gonna respond to that. Like, Sakurai loves to add these quirky characters like Piranha Plant and Wii Fit Trainer that kind of balance out these like super iconic heavyweights, the Castlevania series, like all these different series that he's adding in. And oh, by the way, I still want this game to be light and fun and quirky, so here's Wii Fit Trainer, right? That's what I see the benefit of those types of characters. I don't personally see it as too many characters because, again, I see it as a celebration of gaming, the 30-plus years of amazing icons that we're bringing together in this one game. And, yeah, I get that it might be overwhelming to have that many characters, but, like, play who you want to play. Like, you don't even have to download the DLC if you don't want. And what's cool about the way that you unlock characters is you don't start the game with all 80 characters, Josh. So, like,
right, yeah.
You kind of get, and it's kind of like fun unlocking them as you go. And so the other thing is, I think I'm so thankful to have this game and to have the roster we already have. Like Joker, Banjo-Kazooie, like all the DLC characters we've already that have already been released are hype as hell. Like, it's so exciting to have those guys. So that all being said, like, I totally get people like being disappointed with Byleth from Fire Emblem. I love Fire Emblem. Obviously, like, I think what's disappointing is the expectation, and this is just like gamers have high expectations for a lot of stuff, and so I think there's just high expectations. It's like third party, random Fire Emblem. Like, why? And so I think that's why all of this disappointment is here. Now, that said, if Byleth was just announced as like the first DLC character and we didn't have this expectation of all these non-Nintendo characters, I'd be hyped. It'd be exciting because people love Fire Emblem Three Houses, and it's an exciting choice. Although I will say, and I think I might have texted this to Jake, like, Byleth is actually the least exciting character from that game because it's a voiceless protagonist.
Yeah.
But I think they did a really creative job of implementing the weapons from the other leaders of the houses, and I'm never going to play as Byleth. I'm going to play as palette-swapped Edelgard. So, yeah, because you can play as the other characters in like a palette swap, so I'll probably be playing as that character anyway. And, you know, the other thing I think that makes it a little bit better is the fact that you do have 6 other DLC characters coming.
So I want to move into that. So there's 6 more coming. What are your guys' other predictions or desires for like the season 2? Like, do you have anything? You don't have to go through like all 6, but do you have anything you want them to come to the table, or you think?
Chrono.
Chrono? Okay, that'd be cool.
Everybody wants Chrono.
Chrono would be good. But
or
Chrono's got the
Gino.
silent protagonist issue too. I would almost want Magus from that game.
That would be cool too. I'd take any character from
Frog.
Mario
Yeah,
Trigger,
anyone
to be honest.
Or Frog.
Robot?
I'm Gino from Mario RPG. I know he's a costume or whatever, like a Mii fighter. But
Yeah.
Like,
A lot of
My
people
picks-
want like Doomslayer or Master Chief.
Yeah,
Like those are
yeah.
pretty, same with like you said, Gino. I want Isaac and Smash. Like I've always wanted him. So far I've settled for just
what about Kratos?
Kratos.
Oh
That'd
my
be pretty
god,
badass.
dude! Kratos
He'd be my
would
main.
nuts!
Oh man.
Oh my god.
Axe throw too. Like oh god, I'd love that.
Dude,
But no,
Totally
so
doable.
one of my like
I mean,
I have an off the wall pick, and I brought it here for you guys. You guys remember this
Oh.
game? N64. I think it would fit with the lore of Super Smash Brothers Ultimate as well. What do you think?
Glover, dude?
Yeah, man,
Glover.
you get to be Glover.
Oh
You basically get to be
my
one of
God,
those
you're
hands.
playing Master Hand,
Pass.
literally.
So I thought that I was like, oh, this would be cool. Like it'd be cool to have him in there. I mean, if you get Wii Fit Trainer,
Yeah, I was gonna say. Speaking of Wii Fit Trainer,
why not bring in like another hand and you get to play as like one of the Master
Who's
Hands?
the developer or publisher on that?
Hasbro Interactive, I'm guessing.
Are they still doing video games? That's interesting.
That's what it looks
Wow,
like.
great
Bomberman,
great pick.
Bomberman would be cool too.
Yeah, I'm very surprised Bomberman's not already in there. To be honest with
Yeah.
you. Yeah. Konami.
Oh, another one I have is like Dixie Kong. Like we already have Donkey Kong, but we don't have
Yeah.
other like any other representation from the DK series. So like she could have
You want
a
Cranky
No, not Cranky.
Yeah,
I don't
Cranky
want
would be legit.
Cranky. Maybe his OG Donkey
or
Kong.
Funky
form.
Kong, dude.
Funky Kong would
Funky
be cool.
Oh
Kong.
my god.
I was thinking with Dixie, I mean, they can use like a guitar from Donkey Kong Country 2, like she can smash somebody on the side, or hair twirling for what's
Yeah,
it like
hair
up
twirl,
B
yeah.
or something.
I would like to see some indie representation, like having Celeste or Hyper Light Drifter. Or,
Dude, I feel like they're just doing those for the Mii Fighter costumes because the
Yeah.
Cuphead and the
Sounds-
Undertale. I feel like that's the angle that they're taking for indie games now. That's just like they'll never get better than costumes.
Dude, Hyper Light Drifter would be so legit. I know he's like in the Sony All Star game. I think as like a downloadable character.
Really?
And their Brawl, or no, it's called Brawlout. Have you ever heard of Brawlout?
Oh yeah. Brawlout.
I think
They're
he-
basically Brawlout takes like the tier 2 and tier 3 video game characters that couldn't get into Smash. That's in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. The ones that I would want in Smash, I think we were talking about. I know Dante was heavily rumored. I would freak out for Dante.
Yeah,
I
he's like
fucking
3.
love. Yeah, I love Devil May Cry. Another one that I would love is Travis Touchdown from No More Heroes. I think he actually has a very high chance of getting in, especially with No More Heroes 3 being exclusive for Switch. And he's just got so much attitude and so much style. And dude, who wouldn't want a lightsaber in, Smash Brothers? Is speaking to your Star Wars fandom, Josh.
I mean, there's an item in there basically. So
I mean, yeah, there is an
That's
item.
true.
Yeah,
for
true. And then my other one, it's kind of out there, but I love the Prince of Persia games, so I would love to see the Prince from Prince of Persia. But it's interesting because I would have thought that they would put an assassin from Assassin's Creed first, and they kind of did with this Altair Mii costume, so I don't see the Prince being more likely than that. So it's probably not going to happen, but I love those games.
Dang. Get anything, Josh? Any other
What
desires?
about a Wii balance board? Or like a Yoshi.
Just as an item, or is it?
A Yoshi egg, dude! You just play as the egg and you're
Listen, they got the
set.
Wii Fit Trainer in there. I think anything's possible. If you anybody can be a character if you try
I
hard
believe.
They got to get the Ring Fit in there.
enough.
Yeah.
Ring Fit Joy-Con or whatever. Ring Fit Con, Ring Con.
Yo, if Assassin's Creed characters are on the table, I think like anybody other than Ezio is a mistake. I am
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So
I
they
mean,
got-
that's still possible. Altair costume Ezio player. Could happen.
So they said they couldn't get in like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Rex, Pyra, them because of the recency of it. It was being released. So, but then Fire Emblem, this guy gets in
Yeah,
as
I
DLC. I was like, come
Well,
on,
it's
man.
a DLC, I know, yeah. That's the weird loophole. He didn't get in the main game, but they got the other people in DLC.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of wanted that because, I mean, when that game came out back, December of 17 or something, I was super into it then. And, I was hoping that he'd be part of the roster because, I had fond memories of it. I still have to go back and do the DLC, but...
And imagine changing Pyra
to
as
Mithra.
the same way Shulk does, changing his mode.
Oh,
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
But let's move into the next and final bit of the podcast, you guys. This is going to be the war cry. For our topic, it's going to be, what do you consider a spoiler? Are you upset when you see spoilers before you play a game? Are there examples where spoilers have improved or diminished your enjoyment of a game? For me, a spoiler is going to be anything that really takes away from like the story beat of a game. So if it ruins like something that, I mean, I'm sure everybody has like their own different threshold for what is like story element or something like that. It's super broad, but a good example for me would be like a newer returning character edition that wasn't known prior to release. Like, oh, I didn't know this guy was going to be in the game. He's from a previous entry in the game or something. Or theories, like say that this is kind of like super out there. But say you're like really in tune with the series, right? Real big into Star Wars. Like you watch that Star Wars trailer and you noticed something about the, I don't know, creation of that lightsaber, the way it looks. And like, you're like, oh, this is more than likely this, like 99% this. I don't want to know that. Like I want to not know that.
Yeah, I agree.
Like stuff like that. It's like, no, I'd rather go in blind for like a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
And a good example of one would be like, even during the direct, and we were talking about this, Brandon, Sakurai was like, yeah, he's talking about the new Fire Emblem character, but the first couple minutes into his presentation, he's talking about like a mid-level, something that happens in the midpoint of the game. And then he goes in a little bit more detail about what's going to happen between like certain characters and certain events in the game. I was like, man, you are like this game.
And he said no spoilers, which is so funny about it. So obviously Sakurai doesn't think that's a spoiler, but like everyone else,
right? It's very subjective. It's a great area.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Like everybody does have their own considerations for spoilers. To me, that was there because I would not have wanted to know. I'm glad I had already beaten the game by this point. But had I not done that, and then he would have said that, like, "Oh, you're going to be doing this at this stage of the game," we're like, "Whoa, I didn't know this was going to be coming down the pipes." Like, I wanted to experience that firsthand.
Yeah.
So I can give you a good example of what some people might consider a spoiler, but like that's why when I talk to you about games, Jake, that you haven't played yet, I'm not sure what your level of what a spoiler is, and I know you're pretty basic, like, well, I just don't want to hear anything usually, because sometimes somebody might say something like, well, that's a spoiler, so you have to be careful. But like Final Fantasy, let's go back to Final Fantasy VII. Like, if you've never played the game before, and you're like, hey man, have you reached the gold saucer yet? And you haven't gotten to the gold saucer yet, and like what, like, have you gotten to the section of the game where you can gamble? To you, would that be a spoiler if you haven't gotten to that?
That wouldn't be. But like, I actually have Final Fantasy VII on my list for examples because I do know like a major. I know what part you're. Yeah. So like, I know that, and this is on my backlog of something to play. I'm gonna beat this before the remake comes out, but that does suck. I learned that probably. I mean, this game's like 20 years old.
It's old, yeah. That's a really well-known spoiler, yeah.
I obviously, like, I did learn about that. That's a spoiler. Going into like a golden saucer, like a gambling part. No, that to me, it's just like, oh, that's cool. You can gamble.
But see, Darren, you can phrase it. You can be like, have you been to Golden Saucer? And he probably doesn't know what Golden Saucer is if he's not there.
That's true. You know? As I was saying it, I was thinking about it. But well, with that said, wait till you get to the casino in Dragon Quest XI.
Dragon Quest XI.
Yeah, that's a fun area. Yeah,
I'm interested.
It's like,
that's fun.
It's cool.
Yeah, so my take, it's interesting because to me, I think you have to make a distinction between gameplay and story. And I think I'm actually okay seeing gameplay of like anywhere from the beginning to the midway point of the game, just like to see what it how you would actually play this game and what the second to second button input type gameplay is going to be. But anything late game gameplay, I definitely don't want to see, just because there's probably mechanics and things that they introduce that are, to me, would be exciting and a surprise to experience those mechanics.
Items that you may have.
Yeah, new items you get. Like, none of that I want to see past, like, kind of like the halfway point. Now, story, I was going to say anything past, like, the first 30 minutes to an hour, but the example that comes to mind is Last of Us. If I knew the first 30 minutes of Last of Us before I played Last of Us, it wouldn't be as impactful. So it's really interesting. Yeah. I almost think like anything beyond a basic plot synopsis, to me, is basically a spoiler from a story perspective. Like, you go here and do this. Great. As long as it's not telling you, like, key details, like interactions, character lives, character dies, like that kind of stuff, do not want to know about.
What about like, I'm thinking another time when I was talking with you, Jake.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spoil anything, like with
gotta tiptoe around me, man.
Like Octopath Traveler and like that final boss or whatever, you know. Like there's certain things I want to talk to you about, but I was like, I don't want to, because for some people they'd be like, well, you're spoiling like how the boss works. Like I don't want to know anything about the final. I just want to go into it and be like, figure it out myself. And that's why I'm saying each person is different, because some people might consider that as like spoiling. Or like, have you gotten that this new ability or whatever? Like, or you explain the ability like.
Yeah,
I don't know,
I try to be super vague. Like, have you gotten past the part with like the big trees? You know,
I always like whenever, like, I have a pretty low tolerance for spoilers. So like I always ask the person where they're at. Like if you as a person who's played something is asking the question of where, like, are you to this point? I feel like you've already kind of like.
Yeah.
Like, even asking the question, there's a pretty severe chance you're gonna spoil something.
Yeah,
you're right.
Fair.
That's why I always just try to be really careful, because I don't like people spoiling the game for me either. So,
and that extends like movies too. Like, say you haven't seen the most recent Avengers or Star Wars or like whatever it is. You know, like, this is a blockbuster movie. This is going to be good, or, you know, subjective to whatever your personal preferences. And like, don't spoil that. Like, just let somebody be blind.
It's interesting though, because movies, I would argue it's the story is the whole thing, right? Versus games, and this is why I brought this up as the Warcry, right? Like, yeah, maybe people just don't care about the story enough, and they just really want to experience the gameplay to the point where the story like doesn't bother them if they know it, you know. So that was kind of the other side of that coin.
So it seems like everybody here has a pretty low threshold. I thought this was going to be more divisive, but maybe John. I think John would have been more. Like he always skirts that boundary. Like, he's always like a little bit like I remember for like, say, Last Jedi. I just remember a little bit of it. It was like, hey, have you seen Last Jedi? I'm like, oh no, I haven't seen anything. I don't want to know anything about it. I'm probably gonna go see it this weekend. Man, there's a part in the movie where like something happened. Like, I don't want to know anything. Like, just stop there. Just like, no more.
It just keeps going on.
He's like, yeah, no, but this isn't a spoiler. This is gonna be like. I was like, like, hey, just like, I want to be like blind. Just
for movies, definitely 100%. I don't even want to like reviews. Like, oh, the movie was like a 4 out of 10. I don't want to hear any. I just want to go into it with nothing.
I've stopped watching. Like, as soon as I see a movie that I want to watch, I stop watching trailers. I stop doing anything. I just like don't care, because like, I mean, even the trailers, a lot of times they'll either spoil the funny moments of the movie, or I'll see something that'll like lead me to believe, or I can jump to some conclusion to something that's going to happen in the movie. I just like I have such a low tolerance for spoilers. I don't even watch trailers, man.
Damn.
Darren's got a good point too with like the reviews. That even if you don't read the review and they talk in depth about it, just knowing the score may actually influence you going into it. Like, if it's a 7 out of 10, but you're really looking forward to it, maybe now do I really want to even go watch this movie now? Maybe because 7 out of 10 is maybe considered iffy, but
I always have the mindset that I think reviews are helpful to understand like what you're getting yourself into, but I always think that every person experiences something differently. So if you give it a 7, I might give it a 9, or a different reviewer might give it a 9. You know, like, I don't necessarily look at a score and say it's like the end-all be-all in terms of how much or little I'm going to enjoy the game. I typically look at reviews and be like, okay, is this a type of game or a style of game that I can find myself enjoying?
But then you off of that, so like the Miami game that I've been playing, like, I didn't know, I didn't know really anything about it, but like I played it because like everybody was raving about it. It was really really good. But on the flip side, when I see a lot of indie games that aren't really rated, I would say 100% of the time I won't play them.
Right.
Not to say that there aren't good ones out there, like sleepers out there, but eventually, usually those quote unquote sleepers, if they're good enough, they'll start getting traction. Like So I don't know.
And it's hard because like there's so many games now. There's so many that are 9 out of 10, like great games. So it's maybe those 7 out of 10s that you would not even consider now just because there's so many good 9 out of 10 games. Like, you never give that a good chance. But that would have been, like Brandon said, your 9 out of 10. So, like, it gets tricky. So I try to avoid some of the game, like, reviews. You know, if I know, like, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, didn't care what that thing was going to get. Like, I'm buying that game.
You're going to play that anyway.
That's going to be on my PS4. I will be playing that game. Like, I don't care. I told him, like, even if it has, like, 7 FPS, this thing, like, I think there's dual Gokus at some point. Like, there's some bug where, like, both are on screen. I don't care. Cool.
Nice, dude.
Dual Goku.
It's interesting. I brought this up. So the second part of this question, like, have you ever experienced this and never hurt or hindered your or improved your experience? So I've actually, both Red Dead games, I have the ending spoiled. So it's a little bit of a bummer. Like, when I played the first Red Dead, like, I had seen the ending, like, somewhere, like some top 10 video or whatever, and I saw the ending. I was like, oh damn, like, but I still played it, loved it. And it was so funny because Red Dead 2, I was like, all right, I'm going to have a completely unbiased opinion because I don't know anything about this game except for it's well-reviewed. And, like, literally in the past week, like, the reason I came up with this question, like, I saw a spoiler, like, on, like, an Easy Allies thing. I was like, fucking... So, but it's really interesting because I'm really trying to, like, think about it, and there haven't been too many times where this has happened. And I thought back to, like, the first Red Dead, right? Where I knew what the ending was going to be. Final Fantasy VII, I knew that critical part was going to happen, and I still love that game, even though I played it 10 years after it came out, right? And so I'm still enjoying my playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2, and in a weird way, because I know something that's going to happen at the ending of this game, I'm like...
excited?
Yeah, and I'm like... not just that, but I'm now evaluating, like, the scenarios a little bit differently. Because you know when you, like, watch a mindfuck of a movie and then you go back and rewatch it? And like, oh my god, like, look at all the clues. Knowing, like, one critical thing that happens at the ending of Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm now playing that game and being like, wow, like, they really do a good job of, like, setting this up, right? In terms of, like, what I know is probably going to happen. So it's interesting. I don't know if it's, like, really... It sucks that I know a part of the ending, but I'm actually not as, like, hurt about it as I expected to be a couple days after the fact.
Something a little...
I don't know. I feel different about it. Like, so kind of similar to your situation. I don't know if you ever heard of the game Danganronpa.
Yeah, huge story. That's the whole game is story. Yeah,
the whole game is story, and, like, there are points in the game where I wanted to like I'm all about, like, maxing out character stats and all that stuff, and, like, I'm trying to look up, like, a guide.
Ooh.
Like, and as soon as you
hard.
type into Google, stuff pops
Done.
up, pictures pop up, and it's like, oh, that's, like, the main villain right there. Great. Oh. Well. But like you said, it is interesting though, because then when you know, like, who the bad person is, then you're like, oh, I know what the ending is. I know who's responsible for this, and so you start really looking at that character and being like, oh, this is probably a hint right here. So I definitely get what you're saying with that. But yeah, there's certain games that, like, if you look it up, like, there's a high chance you're gonna spoil it. Like, it's really hard.
Do you guys think that anything was taken away from your experience of either of those two games because you know the
Probably.
ending?
Yeah, I mean, it didn't emotionally affect me as much. But then the flip side, I'm to Darren's point, I feel like I'm gaining something along the way in a weird way. I don't know if it outweighs the loss of the surprise, but it's almost like a consolation prize, you know?
For me, it sucks because I had played the first game, and so I kind of knew, like, okay, I really need to pay attention to each character, like, from, like, the very, very beginning, and look for clues and who I think is, you know, the ultimate villain. And it I don't know, for the second game, it made it kind of...
You found out the villain?
Yeah, it kind of. Yeah, I found out early.
That sucks. Like Brand said, that's like the whole point.
Yeah, it's like a
whole point.
Thriller, right?
Yeah, it's like Professor Layton or what is it? Phoenix Wright. Like, right here, you're trying to who done it kind of deal. And yeah, it did kind of kill. I mean, I beat the game, I went through it all, but it kind of killed it for me because it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I was thinking for Brandon, a little bit different than games, a little bit different than movies, but something we had done in the past with, like, E3 is, say our schedules didn't meet up. We usually watch E3 together, like, around the same time, but he's working this, I'm working this, whatever. We do media blackout. So like I won't go to like Facebook. I won't go to like Reddit. Like I'll try to avoid that because people, they get excited. They want to post some bit of news. Like, so you got to avoid it. So I remember, Brandon, specifically one thing. Yeah. It was the Breath of the Wild, the DLC was announced, and so one of his buddies from somewhere, I don't remember if it was like back east or something. My buddy from
Canada.
Canada? Oh. Yeah. So he was, he's like, hey.
Or his brother, but yeah.
Did you see the DLC for? He was like, oh, no, I didn't.
I know. It was so funny because we were like 10 minutes before it happened. Yeah. And I don't know, I think we just started it late or something, and he like just messaged me, and I get it. Like, I was media blackout for like hours. Didn't go to Reddit, didn't go to Facebook, and then he just like messaged me. I was like, oh, fucking hell, dude.
So you guys are talking about spoiling like press conferences for games and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Because I have a hard time, man.
I get excited too. I have a hard time.
Yeah.
Like not messaging Jake and being like, "What the heck, man?" or whatever.
Usually, I'm so glad I don't have this problem. Like I don't follow any of this stuff. Like,
yeah, Josh just hears about a news article. He just reads about it like a week later.
No, I don't. Like, with the fantasy draft we did, like I obviously have heard of The Last of Us. I've heard of a couple of the games that are on there, but like I don't know a damn thing about any of those games. Yeah. I don't use
dude.
Reddit. I don't use.
Get him off this podcast.
I only use Facebook for the messenger, like to message friends. Yeah, like I don't know.
God, yeah.
I have a very low tolerance for spoilers, and I don't have a problem finding them because I don't go on the corners of the internet that have them.
It's a cool experience seeing that like in. Like seeing it live, like anything. Like say you're big into like technology, CES, you're following that for 3 or 4 days straight, waiting for the reveals, and you want to see the live unveiling, them pulling the curtain down over the new GPU or something, and you're like, oh, what are the specs for it? But then you want that live reaction. You want to see, even if you can't make it, you're at work or something, you want to see it live. But then you get a I don't know, like you pop up Reddit and you just see an article saying something was announced. Like, some people are okay with that. Like it's what they just want to know the information. Like that's fine. Yeah. But like Brandon's real big into, he wants to see that.
I get it.
Yeah, dude.
See
the excitement factor, dude. I just love it. When Smash Ultimate was announced, I was like losing my mind, jumping around the room. So exciting.
Yeah, guys. That pretty much does it, though, for this podcast. Unless you guys have anything else to add, I'm going to close it up here. Nothing else. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing and continue listening to all our content. I think I'm going to take Brand's advice. I'll throw a link down to our Fantasy Critic down in the description below so you guys can follow along. See our picks. See how bad John's going to lose.
So bad.
He did bad.
Dude. He counterpicked Final Fantasy, or no, what did he? Yeah, it was
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah. Oh my God. So he thinks Final Fantasy VII is going to be poorly reviewed.
Yeah.
Worst choice that he could possibly make.
Alright, guys, but that is it. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.